About me, GregoriusT. General. If you went here for my contact info, that one is here. If you want to learn more about Greg lore, go to the page of Greg. If you want to know about my opinion on some random unrelated game design, go here. This page is about me as a person and contains information, which may or may not be interesting to you. So if you are interested in knowing what kind of person I am, go ahead and read. But be warned, if you suffer the too much information syndrome, then don't read it, because I tell an awful lot about myself and also some of the issues I live with. The reasons I tend to be so open are simple. First of all, others see me and then notice there is someone else with problems similar to what I have, motivating them to also talk about their problems more openly. And secondly, if people talk about their problems, someone might walk by and give a helpful tip on solving said problems, which works especially well on the internet. I don't care about pity or sympathy, even if my constant mentioning of issues might seem like that. It's kinda annoying because it makes everything seem whiny, inspiring people to be mean to each other in the end. Name: GregoriusT, that is my full name on the internet, but it's easier to just say Greg, GregoriusT, GregoriusT, or even Greg if you want to be funny. I also prefer being talked to using Greg/GregoriusT rather than my IRL name. Age: 31. Let's see if I update this 2023, or if I will forget about it. Gender: it's complicated. Physically I'm male. Mentally I'm genderless, but I don't care if I sometimes behave more male or more female. I'm asexual, technically antisexual, but asexual is way easier to explain, so I do not care about anyone else's gender apart from pronoun usage. Own pronoun-wise, it is whichever is the currently least confusing one in the situation, which is most oftenly the male pronoun. Location: Germany/Deutschland, Northern Bavaria/Nordbayern. Languages: English and German. Education: I did study computer science, but failed near the end. You don't need any educational degrees to be a good developer. You need to just care about what you are doing and try to make it good as well. That will get almost anyone into the upper 5% of best developers. Every dev who I saw fail at what they were doing, just did not give a shit about fixing their problems, or started blindly listening to a very small selection of their community, calling that selection democracy despite never having given anyone the ability to vote properly or at all in the first place. For examples on bad development, see all Greg Tech ports or clones, that have not been done by me. Yes, they are all bad without any exception. GT6U happened after I wrote this, so it might become an exception. Heck, even GT6, as unfinished as it is, like all my GTS, is not that good. Occupation: unemployed, but of course working on whatever stuff I like working on, including mechanicia of course. I am not able to actually do stuff for anyone else, just because they tell/pay me to. I need a real reason to do anything. I'm mainly driven by inspiration and some sort of OCD. For almost anything else, I just end in messing up royally, because of not being able to remember all tasks/instructions or their order. Donations and the support I get in real life are the only ways I can earn money. Everything else won't work. Universal basic income would pretty much fix almost my entire life. My personal opinion about money is that it's just a plaything for immature people, and that binding the survival of anyone to money is just morally wrong. I highly depend on others regarding staying alive, especially acquiring groceries due to logistics reasons, because of the several small problems that I have. That said, I will not do any sort of commissions nor paid editions of features. I work towards the stuff I have on mind, and that's it. Hobbies: working on the things I get inspired to do. That is mainly mechanicia. Getting inspired through watching videos, which include science stuff, sci-fi series, Stargate, Star Trek, Star Wars, The Orville, etc., anime, especially the long-lived ones, such as Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Naruto, superhero-related, Marvel, DC, One Punch Man, Oh wait, that last one is also an anime, cartoons, Adventure Time, Rick and Morty, South Park, Futurama, My Little Pony, most Dungeons and Dragons campaigns by Team 4-Star, Let's Plays, Minecraft, Hermitcraft, games, game/film/food, theory, animations, and some funny stuff. Listening to video game music and remixes of it, SIE Vegunner, Siri Mix, most from the Kirby, Sonic, Mario and Mega Man games and some others. Sometimes when I'm stressed or just not inspired at that moment, I also play video games other than Minecraft. Recently it has been Starmade, Terraria, Factorio, Enter the Gungeon, Sonic Mania, Undertale/Deltarune, Minecraft, Cossacks, Pokemon Omega Ruby, Shovel Knight King of Cards, and the best thing I can do while still paying good attention listening to D&D, Wario's Woods for the SNES. I enjoy being nice to the people who I genuinely like. Sure, there are not many of those, but even just being a nice person to me makes me like someone. I also enjoy to listen to friends talking about their life, and giving them advice if I have advices to give, even though I sometimes end up remembering own problems I could have solved differently, what is kinda bad, because I always find new ways to solve old memories. Puns are something I do very often, same goes for taking things too literally or out of context. It's just too much fun to not do that at times. As you may have noticed, all those things are stuff I can do at home. I don't leave the house very often, and prefer staying inside, sometimes for multiple weeks if I'm lucky. Glad I could take advantage of the early 2020s for excusing that. XD. Food. Normally no breakfast unless I leave the house very early, in which case 2 slices of bread with salami or similar, or just the salami as is, because who needs bread? XD. I usually eat 1 plate, or up to 2.5 plates in case of good pasta/noodles, of whatever is cooked for lunch. A plate with fruits in the evening. Most of the time it is 2 to 3 kinds of the following: an apple, a banana, 2 to 3 kiwis, green and yellow, 2 to 3 plums, 1 to 2 nectarines, grapes, green and purple, strawberries, cherries, currants, red and white, rarely black, or a few pieces of diced watermelon. And about 2 packages, 100-300 g each, of snacks/sweets per week. I only drink mineral water of the non-carbonated kind, about a bottle, 1.5 L, per day. Stay hydrated. This diet makes me lose about 1 or 2 kg per month if nothing extraordinary happens, like Christmas holiday season, but everyone's metabolism is different, so don't take these values as an advice. As for favorite foods in general, lasagna carbonara, essentially the ham equivalent of lasagna, garlic salami, strawberries, kiwis, green and yellow, cherries, raspberries, blackberries, currants, red and white, Berliner with icing, or was it called frosting, and filled with jelly, donut alike, Stollen, raisin fruitcake with powdered sugar on top. Appearance. I'm about 1.80 m tall. Have a full beard unless I just got my brown hair cut short, yep, no red hair IRL. Wear Eggman-esque blue-tinted circular glasses outside. My eyes are insanely light sensitive to the point of not being able to drive even with glasses. And am a typical nerd, who focuses more on his own stuff than on his appearance. I don't really care how I appear to others, and that is rather obvious. Other. In general, I like and accept myself the way I am, and don't want anyone to attempt making me feel otherwise, nor to try changing me, especially not with the fake intent of helping me without actually doing so. There are some things on me that would definitely classify as OCD, but I can live with them and they are part of me, and they are not that extreme. I technically can't feel anything positive. If I say I enjoy something, it's just the relaxing kind of enjoyment to me, distracting me from stuff, or just doing things so I don't theorize about doing them anymore. I don't even feel anything while I am laughing, it's just the same neutral feeling. So as long as nothing bad happens to me, I am feeling fine. But actually feeling good is very rare, and even when it happens, it is never repeatable after happening once per whatever caused it. I don't even desire feeling actually good at all, so one could consider me apathic in that sense. Last time I actually felt good was right when Shovel Knight, King of Cards came out. It's like feeling the love, care, and craftsmanship in something. Due to barely feeling anything myself, I do feel what others around me feel much more, kind of like a mirror, which can be both great and terrible depending on the emotion, intent, and reasoning people show. This is why a lot of times, when interacting with any people, I tend to reflect the emotion I get from the interaction, meaning I usually feel the same way as them to some extent, but also that I enjoy others feeling happy, even if that emotion doesn't originate from my own mind, it's still there and I feel it. But this does not apply to my opinion about things. My opinion can normally only be changed with actual logic. Someday I'd love to share my life with someone who is genuinely interested in being together with me, while still keeping everything as relaxed as normally. Might sound a bit egocentric, but I wouldn't enjoy to be together with anyone who doesn't also enjoy to be with me, since I don't want to make anyone I care about unhappy, especially by being too boring in the long run. Almost everything I do in life revolves around my creativity, or mostly getting as many things out of my head as possible. There are very few other things, and a few people I do actually care about. Most of my time is spent in my room at the computer doing stuff and sometimes relaxing to recharge my brain, and rarely watching TV simply to finish the series I started watching years ago. I usually don't leave my room unless it is really necessary, because it is one of the very few places where I'm able to feel relaxed at and calm down, since nothing extraordinary happens there to distract me. Quite obviously I am not a sporty person at all, I don't move all that much, but I don't care about that being unhealthy, nor about me being very weak. I just live my life as is and am okay with that. Might need to fix that weakness thing someone, but that is an issue for future Greg. I'm a minimalist. If there is something I don't really need, I won't get or use it, though at times curiosity gets me with some tech things, looks at all the Raspberry Pi stuff laying around. I don't use a smartphone for that reason. I have a Pine phone by now, though still no real use in having it apart from 4G compat, because I don't need that and I don't see a purpose in it, nor do I like any of the mobile operating systems or touch screens. I tend to capitalize nouns despite using the English language, as you might have noticed. And it is inconsistent as hell. The ideal room temperature for me is between 19 and 22 degrees Celsius, so I feel actually motivated to do stuff. 16 degrees Celsius is the minimum before it gets too cold, and anything above 23 degrees Celsius is already way too hot for me. And I can't even go outside for more than 5 minutes, when it's 4 degrees Celsius or less. Often my brain can be described as single-core processor with low RAM, large SSD, and high-end graphics card, simply because I can only do one thing at a time, don't respond well to interruptions, can't remember many things in the short term, but remember a lot of stuff in the long term and have a very detailed imagination. I do have non-allergic asthma, small lung volume, though the inhaler does fix it, so I'm not spending all time in bed sleeping for 12 hours a day instead of 4 to 6 hours a day, while being massively demotivated. Though it doesn't help against smells/sprays, such as deodorants, that lock up my lungs and make me cough uncontrollably. Favorite fictional characters: Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik, Sonic the Hedgehog. King Knight, Shovel Knight. King Dedede, Kirby. Magalor, Kirby. Bill Cipher, Gravity Falls. Handsome Jack, Borderlands. Crowley, Supernatural. Metatron, Undertale. Roselow's Card, Deltarune. Sans, Undertale. Lord Business, Lego Movie. Blackbeard, One Piece. Orochimaru, Naruto. Baal, Stargate. Dr. Fetus, Super Meat Boy. Kara's, Game, Dark Project 2, Metal Age aka Thief 2, his German voice is much better than the insanely nasal English one. Greg the Pirate Captain, Game, Gothic 2. Wario, Super Mario Bros. Agent Smith, Matrix. Iron Man, Marvel. Batman, DC. Dr. Gero, Dragon Ball Z. Count Dooku, Star Wars. Lore, Star Trek. Q, Star Trek. Yanis, Stargate Atlantis. Maximilian, Game, Evil Genius. Dr. Gen X, Game, Huracan. About my fictional original character, that I am impersonating, aka GregoriusT. I moved most of this text to its own page of Greg by now. Happy face. Some of the mental issues that I have, a lot of the time I try to avoid them, what works fine on the internet, but not IRL. First and foremost, I hate when others who don't fully know how I work, try to solve my problems in a way that would make them even worse. This goes so far that it can literally knock me out, because of the extreme stress it causes. Sure, advices are good and okay, but don't try to push me to do them, that is the worst thing you can do. I avoid stress wherever possible and won't do anything that would cause me stress, because of the devastating side effects it has on me. This is one of the reasons I can't do anything that others tell me to do, since expectations equals list of instructions equals stress for me, just because I usually don't understand what is actually expected from me. Don't expect me to do anything in particular, that is the safest bet. Speaking of things I avoid, I tend to not start any contact with anyone I don't know. People have to contact me, or I have to be at the location on a regular basis, like a chat room, or am expected to appear. I can't do nothing without almost falling asleep because of the boredom. I sincerely hate having to wait or being idle, and it is the worst torture for me. I dislike traveling for that reason, because it always takes ages to get anywhere, even if it's just right around the corner. I would prefer just staying at home and doing my own stuff almost all day. My attention can always only focus on one thing, not more. Now you might say, sure, nobody can truly multitask. Where is the issue? The issue is that I can't fake multitask either. It takes a while to switch my attention away from things, so much in fact that when I get distracted, I keep in mind what I did before, and need to recollect myself before continuing. Due to this, I can't do certain things at all, such as driving vehicles or having more than 2 active chat tabs/windows open at once. As I said, I can only think about one thing at a time, so as soon as I even just worry about something, I'm absolutely unable to think properly about anything else unrelated to it until it is resolved, or until I gave up, which does take a while. The only way to make me do stuff is successfully inspiring me to do it. So unless I get the idea to do something myself, or feel mentally good about doing it, there is a high chance that I will lack the motivation to do it properly or even at all, even if it is relatively important. I tend to be annoyed whenever I have to repeat myself or am asked the same question over and over without being told what the problem of my answer was. Also very obvious questions where one of my previous answers was along the lines of just try it yourself. Or look it up in NEI. Being asked in rapid succession, in which case I will often just stop answering altogether. Due to many of these problems I am not very independent at all. I tend to avoid all bad and annoying things and just focus on the good part of life, but that only works if I can keep all the bad/annoying things out of my mind. I just can't live with most responsibilities, and have to be free from them, in order to live out my creativity. And that is what I need to survive, the total freedom to just be a creative person and forget about anything that worries me. If I didn't have that freedom to some extent, I would probably end up in a very bad situation. Ah well, I wrote a lot, didn't I? I bet you read most of this. Yes, I'm a very open person and essentially gave a good rough overview about me as a whole. Don't say I didn't warn you about the extent and detail of this. Almost all the information about me listed here, could be found on other sources, where I talked about myself as well. I just compacted it and made it easier to access. Social media does that very often as well. Judge me if you want, I don't care. I just feel much better if people can look up who/what I am, by just looking at this page. Profile picture. Origin of Greg. Well, there is some sort of origin to me, of course. This is the IRL inspiration and has not much to do with the lore of my own universe. The name Greg originates from the pirate captain in Gothic 2, who I liked. As you might know, that pirate captain has black hair, not red hair, but he was the very root of this, and that was long time, before I even started modding. I also privately modded the game Clonk for 3 years, before modding MC. But now for where the hair came from, in some year a week or two after New Year I found a Lego figurine that was a little bit covered in snow and ashes, probably from kids blowing up small stuff on New Year's Eve, and unsurprisingly it was a red-haired pirate figurine with an eye patch. So I decided to use that one as myself when playing Lego, or to be precise, just the head. The outfit wasn't that good, and named it Greg. Greg wears a mostly orange hat, previously red but that got retconned. That one originates from Lego Oswell and was originally one of those red hats from the Train Lego sets, but it is also supposed to resemble Super Mario's hat and so I mixed up both of those. Fun fact, I wear the Mario hat with orange dye in Terraria, because it's the closest I can get to that hat. There is more. I played Thief 2, Metal Age, and I saw how most of the robots the mechanists built had a circular glowing right eye as camera. I thought it looked awesome and replaced the eye patch with such an eye. That is the reason why on the colored logo there is 2 different colors for the glasses, because one is that mechanical eye, while the other is just a blue tinted monocle mounted to that thing. Said monocle was of course inspired by Dr. Eggman's glasses, even if I had to cut them in half for keeping the eye mechanical. The beard was kept from the original Greg Char but expanded by a slightly smaller Eggman mustache, because I liked its look. Greg's body consists out of nanites similar to the human shape replicators in Stargate and Stargate Atlantis, but with an actual mechanical skeleton inside, that contains some more intricate technology with backup nanite sets, and the usage of several different types of nanites in parallel to be more redundant, for less vulnerability to disruptor technology. The Verdero Gregorius change was simply to make the name more Latin due to Stargate Atlantis being a part of the lore-related origin of Gregorius. The last name Technetices is essentially originating from the words technology and net, together with a fitting word ending. Later I started to claim that the element technetium got named after me. If I somehow had the chance to be a real-life version of Gregorius, or anything remotely close to that, I wouldn't hesitate and almost instantly take it. Preferably after asking for the terms and conditions of that. Flavors of Greg. There is multiple variants and alternate bodies I use depending on what I'm doing or am in the mood for. Though all variants can either shapeshift or holographically project a different appearance whenever needed. I will talk about myself with varying pronouns on this page, first person, third person, male, female, due to randomly being in different moods during the process of writing about myself. All versions of me are genderless though, and only use pronouns based on their overall appearance, name, and voice. One thing of note, I draw all my profile pics myself, to varying quality, and am not planning to change that, but I appreciate the effort. Winky face, yes, I already got that kind of fan art. Also, if you use built-in dark mode on this page, the images might be off color. Classic Gregorius. As the name might suggest, I don't really use that one anymore, since modern Gregorius exists. This was the original more armored human form that was seen in older profile pictures of me, before I made myself into what is basically a liquid metal Terminator. Classic Gregorius. Modern Gregorius. The most common appearance of Greg on the internet. Looking more similar to modern Eggman with his jacket, mustache, and glasses. As primary melee and energy beam weapon he uses his sword cane. His main tasks are usually design and engineering related. Creating stuff, explaining details, watching things work, and fixing issues. Winking and laughing. Apart from that, he is also the one typically giving orders whenever needed, and complaining whenever he has to work with garbage others made, while trying to make it work with his stuff. Modern GregoriusT. Gregory. Sometimes I just need to get work done, so I made Gregory. And much more than one of him. His appearance is a floating spherical metallic / robotic Greg head with animated glowing eyes / smile, and the hat, accompanied by two floating hands because a floating head can't do much by itself. Inspired mostly by Orbit, yet another Eggman reference. XD. Gregory is the only type of Greg without the gear-shaped iris pattern, instead he has screens with animated eye dots on them. The intent-based color system is present too though. Gregory is like all alternate Gregs, a copy of my mind that is synchronized between all Gregs. He does many of the simple and grindy tasks, along with pointing at the things the other Gregs talk about to put emphasis on the focus of the conversation. Typically it is not wise to interrupt or disturb him while he is working, as he will remove you if he has to stop you. I have also put him as Smiley into the automatic and canned replies on my forums, to give subtle hints that it's more of an unpersonalized response. Gregory. GregoriusT, last E is silent as so often with this suffix, alternate spellings include Gregoriot or GregoriusT. The fun part of Greg, and probably the one with the most exciting and free personality, while also being more combat and support oriented at the same time. She is doing whatever she likes to do, typically activities related to games, food, cuddles, being nice and other things she deems good. It is not advised to behave unreasonably mean to others while she is around, as she will get rid of bad people around her in one way or another. There is however a type of lawful evil that she does like. Her dress is an armor raining 360 degrees laser bullet hell at anything she targets, with side pocket compartments containing 2 swords and 2 blasters, and the bottom opening of the dress being able to act like a jetpack. There is actual fox-like ears on her head, and her holographic ponytail is colored to look like a fox tail. It is a hologram so nobody can pull on it, nor does she want it to get caught on anything. She is often a white mage or similar equipment-based support class. In some less technological and more magical universes, she is believing that magic should be used by everyone in the world, to the point of becoming an arcana cleric. I usually am more like her whenever I play games or otherwise feel like wanting to have a nice time. GregoriusT. One thing I recently noticed watching One Punch Man is, that Tatsumaki's overall shape looks remarkably similar to what I imagine her, to the point of just replacing hair and clothes could easily do the trick. Definitely looks better imagining it that way, than my mediocre drawing skills make it look. Red fox form. Another one is a pet European red fox, which most often hangs around GregoriusT, doing mostly nothing important other than being fluffy and pettable. The physical size of this form can vary wildly, anywhere between small enough to fit on the shoulder to rideable size. And yes, multiple instances of Greg can coexist at the same time. Though GregoriusT still oftentimes assumes direct control of an instance of this one. I'm not really a person to take care of actual pets, that's why this is either a form of me, or a remote-controlled instance, but never an actual animal. The typical use of this form is when I don't feel like doing anything useful, but still want to be there, for emotional support or something. Metal slime form. The most obviously existing form is a metal blob of the bouncy/squishy variety. One benefit of this form is, that it can be used as a bed/pillow, when spawning an instance for that. This basically shapeless form doesn't really have eyes, so the intent-based color system, see further below, will apply to the whole body instead. It is often the transitioning form while shape-shifting, whenever the form is not a hologram. Common things. Many forms of me have a lot in common with each other, and there is way more than the forms above, though those are used much less often. Here is a few things that are typical among most versions of me. Eyes. All Greg eyes have a gear-shaped iris pattern, except Gregory, and change color depending on what I'm intending to do at that moment, including Gregory. During idle time it is typically a hue similar to royal blue. They are cyan whenever I'm looking up information or reading someone's mind. Though the latter I do usually only if something suspicious is going on, because life would be boring otherwise. The color switches to green basically only while consuming food, which with my machine body I technically don't have to do, but it's still a nice thing to do. A golden yellow is often seen whenever I am protective about something, or when I project a force field. This happens much more often out of combat than I would like. Orange is typically used when giving orders, which I don't like doing, but sometimes I have to. When I am quite literally seeing red, I'm out for some sort of revenge or justice, which is rare. And I really hate the times when that actually happens, so I typically try to calm down before anything happens. A good example of things that can cause this are genocides and similar irrational attitudes of destroy everything. Magenta is normally seen while healing, restoring, or repairing stuff. As for pink, that's for emotionally connecting, which is only really used by GregoriusT while hanging out with nice people. This is similar to mind reading, but mostly constitutes finding out what to do next in order to have a good time, while skipping on things I personally dislike off course. This ability makes me supportive to an often very uncanny degree, whenever I feel like this. And yes, I have a similar ability to mirror emotions in real life, and that uncanny supportiveness is a direct result of that. Creating and designing stuff is what purple is for. Except the original Greg who has the natural human brown eye color, brown is only ever used for things one Greg instance has remote control over. GregoriusT directly controlling a red fox instance she created is the most common example. Head. The hair color is most oftenly red or red-orange, and in fitting cases may have an red fox-alike pattern. Male humanoid-themed variants typically wear a full beard plus mustache combo, similar to modern Gregorius. The mechanical eye is a common optional choice, and is sometimes combined or replaced by blue-tinted sunglasses. Hats are typically a combination of orange, black, and a little bit of yellow/gold. Teeth are either surprisingly square or involve more pronounced canines similar to how humans with fox features are often depicted in anime. Those are not actually vampire fangs, even though they might look like it, that is if I would have drawn GregoriusT smiling. Other clothes other than the hat are most oftenly in a shade of blue with a little bit of yellow, though dark gray and glowing cyan can come into play too. The gear logo, the one without the Greg face, appears in quite a lot of places on my clothes and equipment. Animal-themed variants are commonly of the red fox type. Most of the time, humanoid-themed variants tend to be in a relatively casual classy pose. A non-alcoholic juice-filled martini glass, or a milkshake cup with a straw, are typical drink choices depending on situation. The martini glass is chosen because unlike other types of vessel, its triangular form makes it so you don't have to tilt it 90 degrees to drink from it. Home base. The place I use as home depends on the universe I'm in, and can range from a space station or large spaceship all the way up to extra-dimensional or extraplanar space. Regardless which of those is the case, I have some way of teleporting back and forth from and to my base whenever I want to. Time in the normal world does usually not pass or pass extremely slowly compared to my base, so I can stay however long I want, with time being basically frozen in the normal world. In order to make the place just perfect for everything, a large part of it is a sort of holodeck capable of materializing real matter anywhere inside and regulating temperature to a very precise degree. Most other things about my home base are only there to keep infrastructure running and protected from any sort of outside forces. Mechanicia. One of my personal goals for my game is to be able to easily customize characters with lots of detail, so that I can easily design all variations of myself, without hard coding or account locking anything. This is not just restricted to visuals, animations, and effects, but should also be able to feature audio in the form of voice, themes, leitmotifs and similar. Considering the many forms I have at my disposal, there is definitely a lot of things to provide an easy selection for, so people don't have to dig too deep into the code to make themselves work. And yes, I know this is not any of the game plans pages, but it feels like fitting here very well, since it does outline one of my priorities. Winky face.